Right, as it's a bit dry, I thought I'd do a bit more work on the nose cone. I haven't touched it for about a week or so. I've been doing a few other little bits and pieces. I'm trying to try and take the first edge of the filler off of all the bits that I put on there a while ago. I'm going to be using Millbit or sand that I used for doing the panels on my car previous paint job. I've got an interference pad on there, so as you actually use it on the panel, obviously it was the set material down, and it's got a little bit of give in it, so just to avoid you getting too many straight edges. Obviously very few areas of this is straight, it's obviously all got curves on it, so it just means it gives you a little bit more of a lean to. You don't obviously knock all the bits off and end up with straight edges all over the place and have to reapply it. But this is only going to be the first piece of sand I'll do, so I'm going to be putting an 80 grid paper on there, or 180 grid, 180 paper on this side, just to try and get rid of all the rough edges. I realise I'll probably have to reapply another thin skim and then gradually reduce the grit to try and get enough smoother finish on it. So let's set up the camera on the tripod, put all my PPE on and try and have a go at doing this. I have chucked a cover over my car as well, even though I'm going to put the door down. The dust obviously gets everywhere, so don't want to get that too dirty, so I'm just going to put the door down and see if I can start making a go at this. You'll notice on the DA it has actually got extraction. If you want to use it, you can obviously suck all the dust and stuff into your vacuum cleaner to try and get rid of it all, get the environment a little bit cleaner. Plus obviously got a filter inside here as well to try and catch any water residue, because after using it for a while you get obviously moisture coming out through the air. So despite having a filter on the other end of the compressor, you still get little bits and pieces that seem to come out through this bit here. So obviously that's what the water tap's on, to try and sort of bit of a last ditch attempt to try and keep the moisture out of the air you're using. As you can see, each one of these DAs is a lot quicker. Obviously you can knock all the high spots off pretty quickly. I'm just keeping on working on that a little bit more to get rid of these edges here. If it does go a little bit larger, then put a bit more filler on. And obviously you will be scratching some of the outer edges. Again, you'll just change the grit size later on to try and get rid of all these sort of fine bits that are appearing at the moment. So yeah, it's working quite well. I'll carry on, see how we get on. Right, spent a bit of a while with the DA and the paper as I showed you earlier on. Just gone over and took all the major bits off. Also changed the pad, just used it to get off the resin that seeped down here with a finer grit. I've gone in by hand, and I've actually done this area by hand. Obviously it's quite hard to get down into there without taking off the wrong pieces. And likewise, I've gone into there by hand, and also in there by hand. In a couple of places you can just see little bits of the sort of the fiberglass will come up to a little bit too high, or maybe taking a bit too much of the filler off. So we'll be washing this down in a minute, getting all the dust off, and give it a light coat of a filler primer out of an aerosol can, just to start building up these little bits here. And then when I come back later on, or the next time, I'll do it with a much finer grit, just to try and leave as much of that on there as I can, because obviously we need to have an undercoat of some sort to obviously allow the top coat to stick. So quite happy with it at the moment. Come out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that so far anyway. So a little bit more work to do with the finer coats. I have noticed around what is the mounted hole for the indicators, obviously cracks. It's quite familiar, because you do tend to walk into when it's in the garage as you're walking past the car. And likewise, I've obviously got to come back in here and do that bit yet. So when I come back to do that bit, I'll do the indicator hole, and I've still got to do the star grazing that's actually on the top here as well, which isn't quite as easy to see now. Now I've actually got a bit of filler on there. So yeah, I'm going to wind this one up, put a bit more of the spray on, and then we'll see what progresses from there. Again, it's been a while since I've done any work on the nose cone. Been doing some work on the other projects to get ready for the road. So what I have done in the visits to the garage is been laying on bits of the spray primer, just to build up the areas I thought might have had some fine scratches on. So I've just literally just done this area here for the last sort of 20 minutes, just rubbing this down just to try and take the excess off. And obviously it does show still areas where they might be a little bit lower again. So obviously the bit here, obviously that's still got the primer on, just shows it's a little bit lower than the other areas. So again, I'll be giving it a bit more of a light coat just to try and build them all up if I can do. Obviously this is an area that wasn't damaged, but obviously it must still be low, because that's primer sort of stayed on there. And I'm just using a pad with a piece of wet and dry on it for now. I think I've got a 400 in there, which is maybe a little bit too coarse to start off with, but at the moment it's the only piece I could lay my hands on this morning. And obviously I'm just starting to work around the corner here as well, just to try and sort of make them headway on here. So obviously I'm going to go over the whole area that I've primed. Obviously you will end up with areas that are like this. So you've got sort of where you got the little, these bits here, there was obviously an air bubble there. It's been sprayed in by the filler primer. Obviously it's now stayed filled, and obviously rubbed it all down. So once you get a piece of normal primer over there, again rubbed down, it shouldn't sort of show up the little air bubble gaps we've got here. Hopefully that is the plan. So I'll carry on do the rest of it, and then I'll probably get another light dusting of the filler primer and do it once again, maybe with a different grade of the wet and dry.